Okay, we're back. Welcome back. It is April of 2023, and we totally intended to not record any podcast episodes during February and March. This is Shallow and Pedantic. We are at gumroad.com/shallow and pedantic, patreon.com/shallow and pedantic, and at contentblues.com. I'm Andrew, and I'm joined as always by Mike and Kieran and our special guest, Annalise Grey. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is so cool.
Thanks for joining us, seriously, and thank you for your submission, which is great. And Annalise actually got herself a nice paperback copy of UJ34, which has, in my opinion, one of the best covers you've done, Kieran. I absolutely love it. Tradition is that
It's really slick.
It really does look cool. I come up with one random idea that I pull out of my head, or Mike does, that's tangentially related to actual content in the thing, and you just, I give it to you, and you create this in that nest of spices you call a brain that creates something.
Nest of spices is a very good word for what I have going on up there.
So,
Nest of hornets might work.
Nest of
Bag of cats as well.
Do I detect puce on the cover, Kieran?
I have no idea of what color you speak, but because I don't acknowledge anything like that. I might acknowledge a Pantone number, but I don't acknowledge. But as we know, I do not believe in LL Bean colors names. So
puce does not exist. We do not recognize puce on this podcast. It does not exist. There is no puce. There's only Zool.
Okay, cool. I was getting ready to have to sign off if you guys were going to be on about these. So I was gonna be like, all right, well, I got to go. Bye. Yeah, no.
There are many pastel shades. Let's put it that way.
All right, I'm done. I'm messing with you. The rhino looks great. I asked for a mechanical rhino, and you delivered. How did you even do that? Like, did you find an image that was
okay? So I found because I don't really know how a rhino is actually physically structured beyond it's some weird horse-headed looking thing with a big ass horn. But I mean, going by that could be any number of creatures up to and including a goddamn unicorn. So I got and accidentally at this, a black rhino reference picture to see, all right, how am I going to structure this? And then I went and found the body is the back of a European minivan. The head, I think, is like a U.S. attack helicopter. The ears are trumpet horns. The neck is an accordion. The inner part of an accordion. The legs are engine pistons from a V8, I think. The undercarriage is from a tank tread, and the eyes from an antique camera.
Oh, and you just kind of put all that together in Adobe or whatever suite.
Affinity Photo. I basically, but keep in mind, I also adjusted the shape of these things so they match the contour of the rhino. So I had to do a bit of warping and image manipulation to get the shape to fit. Because it's the plain old boxy shape of the van wasn't going to work by itself. And the Chinook helicopter doesn't actually look entirely like a rhino's head.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, and the horns were cutlery. That was the easy part.
Oh, cool. I like that.
I would have used a chainsaw, but...
So that's the first part of the process, coming up with a cover, that and content, which is coming from 3 different sources. This particular issue, some stuff that I wrote, some stuff that Mike wrote, and Anna's poem. You go by Anna, right? Because your email is Annalise.
I go by Anna, or Anna.
Okay.
Either one.
You don't care?
I don't. As long as you don't call me Annie, I'm cool.
I understand that.
I shall keep away from that one.
Yeah, Kieran, you know.
I know the might of your strike. Not personally. I have simply observed its effect upon others and their foolishness, and have well avoided it myself.
You have been wise to avoid the Arschfaust.
I have.
Oh wow, that does sound harsh. That sounds German.
It is.
So we've got how many this is a big issue. We've got 5 pieces?
Yeah, that's unusual. Usually we're topped out at 4.
Yeah,
If
4.
you not including the front piece, which variably has been either written by you or Mike or occasionally me when you two have been slack-assed on it. But
Yes, that has
It
happened.
does happen.
Yes.
and at which point I lambast them both for their laziness indirectly,
Fair, as you should. So
despite
then
the fact that my contributions to it is cover and interior, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, well, it's the interior design of it, which has evolved over the years, and what it looks like now, which Anna has a copy of, is pretty much just your creative work. I mean, what it looks like, all the use of the separators, and I think I have like, or Mike and we decided on some fonts that we use pretty early on. We
Yeah,
deviated from those. I think we're using
yeah, we
Perpetual still.
Perpetua and Perpetua titling, and one other who I cannot remember off the top of my head without looking it up. But I built styles based off them, and it has not changed since.
Right.
Because the fonts look good together, they're very easy to read. The cover font has changed a few times.
Yes, that's where they we what we're using now is something that I kind of came up with on an Adobe thing once,
Yeah,
and you liked the way it looked, and so we're just kind of rolling with that right now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so we give all that to Kieran, and then Kieran makes a whole bunch of things, and then I kind of put it up after Mike and I get a chance to roll through it, like give it a couple of edits. I think this issue got pretty well edited.
Yeah.
We went through like 2 rounds, I think.
I made sure the formatting on it remained, put together. That's why there's a bit of a page break at the first page to keep otherwise the page flow would have broken apart your stanza there.
Yeah.
So I made sure to keep them all together, so to be read as intended.
And then I take some time and I put it up on all our platforms, which is first Patreon and then Gumroad, Amazon. And I discovered, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but lately when I've been putting up the episodes up, Amazon has been blocking the series. Something about content.
Yeah.
You remember me talking about this?
Yeah.
I figured it out. At least I think I figured it out. It's because we call it Unnamed Journal. Because we call it Unnamed Journal, the bot at Amazon flags that as being like a diary. And that is what they call low content books. So you can't have a series that's a low content book. So every 3 months, I have to explain to the good people at Kindle Direct Publishing that we do not, in fact, make a low content series. I've been doing this since October. And
Thank you.
Lowbrow, yes.
I've been getting
Lowbrow, certainly.
salty with them when I do it. Like I may have been mean in the last email that I sent them and had to dial it back a little bit.
Can't they just put in a filter that's like, that's just what they're called? Not like it's their name, It's like getting mad because Black Flag doesn't show up on stage with like black flags, it's or that Skinny Puppy, which I saw earlier this week, does not involve any actual dogs who are malnourished, Well, I don't know.
Come on, Ogre, give me a fucking whippet or something. Like I need a greyhound. Get me a skinny ass dog on stage, goddammit.
He had a guy on stage that whose whole purpose, as far as I can determine in being in the band, is just to harass him with glow sticks. I mean,
that would not surprise me.
I want 5,000 brown M&Ms, or else Ozzy's not going on stage.
Okay, a little off topic, but have you guys listened to T-Pain's version of War Pigs? Speaking of Ozzy,
I have not.
Okay, do yourselves a favor when we're done. Go to YouTube and look up T-Pain's cover of War Pigs. It is so fucking epic. It's amazing.
I'm sold.
love T-Pain. It's awesome.
He's a
See,
rapper, right? I'm old, so
Yeah,
he's a rapper.
yeah.
I figured he watched, but okay. I'm always
he
up for
did.
Black Sabbath covers.
He contributed to "I'm on a Boat."
I love that song. I'm on a boat. That's a fantastic song.
It is a wonderful song. He's the one that sings "Believe Me When I Say I Fucked a Mermaid."
Yes.
You wouldn't know anything about that, Mike.
Nope, not at all.
But, needless to say, Anna, being off topic is entirely what we
On
do
topic.
here. Yeah, being off topic is on topic. There is no off topic. There's only how did we get here, and why are we talking about Dune again?
Yeah. Why are we talking? Because the new movie will be coming out soon enough, and we'll watch it again, and then
because it's Dune and it's awesome.
Because it's Dune.
Okay, wait, are we talking about Dune or Doom? Because I freaking
Dune.
love Doom.
Yeah, Dune the sci-fi novel and movie. Although Doom the video game is also awesome.
Yeah, no, I love Doom the movie. It's like one of my favorites of all time. And
oh, you mean the movie that has like The Rock? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
okay.
And I will fight someone over that. I love that movie.
Is it pure glorious cheese? I haven't seen it.
It's amazing. It's so
good.
good.
So that's something else I need to check out is the Doom movie. I think my kids might like that.
Yeah, it's
very, very likely. Also off topic, but on topic, but off topic. Do you guys ever hear a cover by a band of a song that you like by a band that you hate, but the cover's actually really fucking good, and you just hate the existence of how much you love it?
That sounds weirdly specific, but I want to say that the Atari's version of Boys of Summer I like so much better than the original version of Boys of Summer.
Yeah, it's a good cover.
Yeah, and I don't care about
it's a good cover.
They're a bit emo for me. But
that's phenomenal.
Strange you should say emo because Muse, who I loathe, did a remarkably good cover of "Hungry Like the Wolf" by Duran Duran.
Huh.
It was really good, and I was really mad that it was as good as it was. I was like, but I hate this band. They sample dumb shit, and they whine, and they caused Stephanie Myers to write Twilight. I mean, this yes. She said, yeah, I wrote Twilight. When I was writing Twilight, I was listening to Muse and did it. I'm like,
so Muse is responsible for Twilight and therefore also 50 Shades of Grey, is what you're saying?
Yes.
It's quite a lineage.
And so why I'm angry that they really knocked it out the park with "Hungry Like the Wolf." It's just, it's a fucking war crime to me somehow. And but it's good.
Duran Duran is enjoying a marvelous critical resurgence. I was in line for like an hour at Record Store Day yesterday, and there was one guy, because you fall into a group of people because we're all here for the same reason. We're waiting in line forever to get inside the store, and we're just jibber jabbering about this and that. We're all kind of the same age, and one guy, he's there for Duran Duran. He wants Duran Duran, and he's not there for anything else. The Duran Duran was sold out.
Oh wow.
The one thing we all said, there's no way Duran Duran's going to be sold out. It was gone.
Wow.
It was gone. I got what I wanted. You saw what I posted. I got what I wanted.
I mean, what was it, the 90s when they dropped the Wedding album? That was a pretty solid one for after years of not really putting anything out.
Well, and I think they just put out a new album too.
Yeah, they did.
And Simon Le Bon also has a radio show on Sirius XM. Yep.
Does he
everybody has a radio show on Sirius. So
does he get attacked by repugnant rodents, or does that not happen in that one? Because I would pay money for that one.
I mean, it's satellite radio. It's kind of like sparse on the video, so I don't know. But I mean, I haven't heard anything that sounds like him getting mauled by the ugly beaver, if that's what you're asking.
Is what I'm asking. There's a lot of mythology between me and Mike because we've known each other for... Our friendship is old enough to drink, let's put it that way, at least. I've known him longer than I've known my wife, and I've known my wife long enough that friendship could drink. So, yeah. And in that time, we've built up quite the mythology.
Yes.
Some of it has even made its way into the Unnamed Journal.
It's
And
true.
so, and onto the podcast, like the Vampire to Feces. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Oh,
do I really want to know about this beaver?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna follow what Mike's head gesture and say
okay.
no.
It's
I,
really,
I,
really simple. It's really simple and not as bad as you think. Simply stated, the ugly beaver lives in the ugly forest where there are ugly trees, where you get the ugly, proverbial ugly stick that someone got beat with. But the ugly beaver is a primordial source of that ugly. So if you are attacked by it, well, you ain't so pretty no more. And we have oft times, we noticed that Sting and Bono and Simon Le Bon were no longer as pretty as they once were. And so we theorized that they were accosted by said repugnant rodent, and it was mostly Simon Le Bon's fault.
So you're saying that
It
Simon
also,
Le Bon provoked the ugly beaver, and
yes,
that's
over a jar of peanuts.
yeah. Okay, I see. I totally see that happening. He was hungry like the wolf. It makes sense.
easy for beavers to get worked up over a jar of nuts.
Oh, I keep forgetting you are our wild animal expert.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic.
They love wood. I mean, what can I say? Like,
It's true. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So that all's been going on. Um, I'm putting it into our sidebar. So we have everything's up now, and I got it all up pretty quickly. Even dealing with Amazon, I was like loading stuff up while I was sending the annoying email. So we're all good now. The series is unblocked. It's fixed. I'm gonna have to do this again in July, and I just accept that. And we have a glorious. We have 5 pieces in the issue, and I think we should talk about Anna's poem first. Because the last podcast episode, Mike and I were trading back and forth of what we created, but let's not make Anna wait until we're done telling each other how wonderful we are. Anna, how old is this particular piece? Was it recently composed?
so I wrote this about 6 months ago, so it's
Nice.
not super old. I had actually put this out. So I go on Submittable, and
Mm-hmm.
I regularly submit to lit journals around the world,
Oh
and
yeah.
this one had actually been submitted 6 places and rejected 6 times. And so it was
Oh
one of those ones that, like, generally speaking, like, once something of mine is rejected about 5 to 10 times, I like just pull it and set it on the
yeah.
back shelf. Um, and so I was like, well, I'm probably just gonna set this on the back shelf because I don't know, like, it's my redheaded stepchild. Like, I love this poem, but it's not gonna go anywhere. So, but then I talked to Kieran, and he's like, hey, you should really try submitting something. And I was like, well, I have this one that I love that's like kind of weird but kind of fun that so I'll throw it out there and see if you guys like it. And I was so shocked that you guys accepted it. It made my whole day. So thank
I'm
you.
glad to hear that.
Oh, awesome.
I had a story accepted last summer, and it made my whole season. So I understand that definitely.
Yeah. It really was cool. I appreciate it. I'm like so honored that I get to be part of this publication. So
Thank you
guys.
very much for saying so. I was not expecting a poem when Kieran said we wanted to submit this piece. Like, okay, let's look at it. And I think on the Discord I just said it's a poem. I like it. That's how it was. The last thing I was expecting, but it had this wonderful like flow to it, and a nice music to it, nice tone, and it was very very grounded and real. Like I could a really good poem of that kind. Like you can picture yourself there, like you're there and you're seeing the things and you're smelling the smells and you're just there, and that's the best use of realism. So my instant response was, I like it. Let's do it. And then Mike said, yes, I like it too. So it's a lovely piece. What were you? Was this just something where you were in the mood and you were just writing something and just something just came to you, or did you kind of like knock it around in your head for a little while before you put it down on paper?
So it's called True Story, but it is actually a true story. My brother actually had a drunk rooster, and I'll call it rooster named Dave. Like, that's legit. He would sit up on my shoulder because he was
That's
kind of like a
fantastic.
badass rooster, and he'd like climb up on me and he'd like snip at my alcohol. And so it was like one day I was just sitting around and just kind of shooting the shit with my writing, and I was like, well, I want to write something about Dave, and that's kind of how it started. Was
Yeah.
thinking about, um, Dave didn't go by way of the axe, but he ended up getting picked off by foxes, I believe. And so I was like, I
Those
just wanted like,
foxes.
yeah, and you know how just sometimes like you're having a day where you're like, I just can't get anything out, so I'm just going to start writing what first kind of comes into mind. And then I thought
Yeah.
about Dave, and that's kind of how it started. And then I revised it a couple times, and yeah, so that was just kind of how it came around.
Well, it's a great piece. You said something about submittable. Do you use submittable to like find places to submit to, or do
I
you
do.
look for places to submit to and then see if they're on submittable? So
I
you're
do.
probably doing it the correct way. Because
I
I've
don't know
used
if it's
submittable like very ad hoc, and I submitted a poem using submittable once, straight to the Poetry Center, and they didn't take it, so I didn't bother submitting anyplace else. So good for you for your determination.
thanks. Yeah, I use Submittable regularly because there are a couple places that like I've been published in Beyond Words magazine
Oh,
twice. I've
cool.
been published in Allegory Ridge and a couple other places, and so I use it because I keep an eye on like some of my favorite like online journals and
Uh
print
huh.
journals. Um, so I go back usually about twice, a month, and I check.
Okay.
And I've got like a steady rotation of things that I'm submitting and pulling, and when something gets picked up, and
All
obviously
right.
it comes out of rotation. So yeah, I use Submittable a lot. I,
Well, then I need to
actually,
start using submittable
you
because
should.
I've got a.
It's good, and you can keep track of all of your acceptances and your rejections, and it's pretty standard form. So once you get your initial like query letter
Uh
written,
huh.
you can kind of pretty much just copy and paste it depending on journal requirements and stuff. So I like
Yeah.
it. It makes it easy.
Yeah. That's the sort of thing that expect should exist, and I'm glad it does. Um, do you have any uh collections out there? Uh,
You mean poetry collections?
yes, or anything. Where else can we find your work? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, so yeah, actually, I've been, like I said, I've been published in a couple online and print journals, and then I have a couple books. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I primarily write young adult and new adult, either paranormal or poetry. And so I have a novel in verse that's written for ages 14 and up called I
Uh
Grow
huh.
X. And I've got my last book was a paranormal romance for new adult called Revel. Yeah,
Yeah,
technically,
Oh,
we reviewed it. Well,
yeah.
yeah,
we pimped her on it. We didn't read
We
it, but we did like say, yeah, like
we spent a
we're gonna
whole
give.
like half of an episode talking about that because you gave us like the material for it, and that was a cool cover. So we
thanks.
Yeah.
talked
Yeah,
about how
I
cool
designed
the
that.
cover was and how the story premise sounded really interesting.
Thanks. Yeah, yeah. I designed my own covers for the most part. I
Yeah,
love graphic design. Yeah.
that
Kieran's
makes
my
sense.
hero. Like I'm aimed to be as cool as Kieran as far as graphic design. So I'm like trying to work my way up to his level. But yeah, I love
I
designing
appreciate
covers.
that statement as well. I'll do some of my own cover designs, but I don't have that kind of kung fu. So I like
you
yours a
do
lot.
have you do have an excellent visual language, though, Andrew. Like you really like. You have done a couple for your collections books. You have kicked out a couple covers. I've looked at like this is peak perfection. I literally could not like maybe swap like the Caligula one, like
Oh
swap the
yeah,
colors here and maybe change the font out here. But otherwise, as far as imagery goes, there's no improving that. That is, you
yeah.
know,
That was a good cover. That was a good cover I
I,
did for
I
Caligula.
mean, and even Drunk Vampire Her, though I ended up doing the cover for that, didn't stray very far from your initial like
Yeah,
rough proof. Like you've got a very good visual language when it comes to covers.
yeah. No, thank you. You said that before, and I always appreciate it. I do want to put out something for Don't Touch the Dead now that Don't Touch the Dead is finished. Um, and I think I showed you something, or you saw it on
You,
Twitter.
yes, I did.
Yeah, I was on
I
Twitter.
did. You can drop that. If you want to drop it in the Discord, I'll eyeball it. And because I think
Yeah,
I had some ideas at the time, but then what taxes happened? Oh God, taxes got me. We're lucky we got an issue out, man. Tax time happened, and simultaneously, I'm working on a menu for my niece because she's running a food truck.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
wow.
So,
I had no idea. That's amazing.
That's super cool.
yeah.
It's kind of a miracle that we actually got the issue out on the 15th, which is what we usually aim for, and we
Yep.
managed
And
to get
this.
that done. That was, yeah, like lately we've been like more like the end of the month. I think like the January issue was like January 31st. It was just inside, but
Yeah, there were like 63 days in that month, and I just, I couldn't get, I needed to wait until the 63rd day of January because I wasn't ready before that. Yeah.
I used our cover at the issue of UJ as a reward for having my shit together on taxes, even though I got done at the last minute anyway. But
yeah, cool.
it was like, okay, look, here's what we're gonna do. We have an awful thing we have to do. So to be able to do this awful thing, we have to do something we really enjoy.
All right.
But quickly.
That's a good way of motivating. That's a good way of motivating. I'm doing something similar, which is why I finally decided to put chapter 1 of The King's Ransom in this issue, which is just to start talking about my own stuff for a minute. I've been sitting on that for like a year and change, and I've got like that chapter that's in there is written, but I've been like, when am I going to work on this? When am I going to work on this? Because I can see that it's something like, well, this will be like some kind of short sword and sorcery kind of novel. It's set in kind of the same universe as the Tig and Drea stories, so I should be able to just crank this out. I should be able to just do this, and no is the answer to that. It has not happened, and I've even told my kids about it. It's like, Dad, when are you going to do the King's Ransom? I'm like, I don't know. So my solution is I'm going to put in UJ, because then I'll have to do it, because we've done a couple of serials in UJ. Both Mike and
Yeah.
I have. I did Void in UJ. I did Caligula, Meditations of Class Caligula in UJ.
Drunk Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, but that's not a novel.
That's more of an anthology.
Yeah, that's just like a collection of stories. But although I do want to do a Drunk Vampire Hunter novel, that is going to happen. I've talked about this before? The King in Polyester.
No, but it sounds great.
Elvis is an alien.
Awesome.
Elvis is an otherworldly Lovecraftian monster. That kind of thing. That's
Anyone that's
where
eaten,
it is in my head, but that's as far.
given his diet, yeah, I can go with that.
I was so disappointed in that Netflix series, that Agent Elvis thing. Did anybody else watch that, or was it just me?
I saw
I
a
don't even know
trailer,
what
but
you're
I didn't
talking
watch
about.
I saw the trailer and I was like, all right, I'll check this out, and I'm either gonna love it or I will forget that I ever watched it. And
No, you want to see Bubba Hotep if you want to see some high quality AU Elvis stuff right there with Bruce Campbell as Elvis. Yeah, no, that's on point.
I started watching that and didn't finish it for some reason.
It's hilarious.
I'm gonna have to
It
go back
is.
to it. I liked it, but I did, for some reason, I got distracted from watching it. No, Agent Elvis could have been a great idea, but the execution was really just like, it's like half speed Archer without without the writing. The characters are all just irritating instead of like fresh. Like, all the characters on Archer are likable despite being flawed, and all these characters are just like, monochromatic versions of that just annoy you. It's a shame, because McConaughey as Elvis is
Oh, all right.
perfect. That's perfect voice casting. He's perfect, and the Elvis is the least irritating character on the show. He's great. You're rooting for Elvis, which is it should be. So yeah. So I'm doing a serial now, and so is Mike. You're in chapter 2 of
Yes.
What is your story called?
Yeah, it's The Long Summer. I couldn't really think of what else to call it, but
tell us what this story is, Mike. Tell us what's going on with this.
So this story takes place in basically the realm of fairy.
Yes.
And there's basically a fox private detective. So it's basically like fantasy noir.
Okay. Yeah. I remember this now. Yeah. Fantasy noir.
So people hire him for odd jobs, find things, find people, surveillance, that kind of thing. So he's just been collecting jobs so far. And at the end of this most recent chapter, I decided to sort of let the overall plot start to come into the picture. So hopefully people like it.
Yeah, that's always what happens in noir. The plot always like intrudes on what the detective is actually doing with his time, even if what he's doing is nothing.
Yep.
A job walks in the door and destroys the whole equilibrium. And so, how? I have a question in my mind. I can form words and sentences. How long do you reckon it's going to take you to complete it?
It's a good question. I mean, it's sort of the only thing I really have felt a really strong drive to work on. So, maybe not too long. I have an outline, but I have no idea how long this thing will actually be. It could end up being shorter. I don't know. So I'm just going to keep working on it, and it'll be done when it's done.
It'll be done when it's done. Your last serial, Ulysses and the
and the Fugitive.
And the Fugitive, yeah. I was like,
what's wrong with me today? Ulysses and the Fugitive. Ulysses and the Fugitive. That was like 20 chapters, 22 chapters, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it was. It was somewhere at least in the high to mid-teens, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and you were doing like 2 or 3 chapters in an issue when you were doing them. So
I remember that. Oh, and I can answer your rhetorical question, Andrew. You're a teacher, and tomorrow is work. That is what is wrong with you right now. Your life is inane questions all the live long day.
Is this going to be on the quiz? Can we open note this? Yeah. Although it's becoming that magical time of year.
Yes.
This is the end of April.
Do you at least have none backup, or is there none of that for you?
We have at least one sister who's regularly in the building. We have one sister.
Can I ask what you teach?
I teach theology.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. I argue with 17-year-olds about the problem of evil and the paradox of omnipotence, and then we take letters.
Man, I got into a heated argument over theology with a bunch of lacrosse players, and because I'm stoic, and they were like, "Oh no, storms are evil," and I was like, "Oh, you and I are gonna have a blast." In the middle of my college theology class, and at the end of it, my professor was like, "Thank you for being here," and I was like, "Yeah, those assholes needed to be put in their place a little bit." Awesome. Needless to say,
all philosophers need to be put in their place at some point.
Well, these were lacrosse players at college, so it was pretty nice to give them a verbal beat down and be like, I know I'm not getting invited to parties this weekend, but that's okay.
So what else do we have? What else is in the issue? I should know this.
I mean, you wrote about half of it, man. You tell me.
Why don't you talk about the story that inspired the cover?
Oh, Rhino Factory. Rhino Factory is a direct consequence of the meme that birds aren't real. That's directly where that comes from, which was an internet thing for a while, making fun of like conspiracy culture. Like it was a thing that ran around the internet. And it actually was like a sign on a billboard. I think this opens the story. Sign on a billboard in somewhere in Tennessee that birds aren't real. Birds are government spies. Birds are mechanical. They don't exist. We've just been psyoping thinking.
Which, as strangely enough, is partially true now because they've been taking taxidermied corpses of birds and turning them into drones. Yeah, that just started. I was reading an article on it.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Threatening.
As goofy as the conspiracy theory is, there's always something there. So yeah, I decided to go. What if rhinos weren't real? And then it was like, what's the consequence of this? Like, if rhinos were not real and they were being manufactured somewhere, and then it's like, okay, so you're talking about the corporate management of the manufacture of rhinos, and so it's just like every scene in that story is like almost like a telephone game where it starts with one error that bounces into a conversation with two people, and then one person has a conversation with another person, one person has to have a conversation with another person, and meanwhile, in between all these scenes, there's this lunatic mad scientist gibbering about the production design flaws in the latest designs of the Rhino. And he in my mind he talks exactly like Colonel Hunter Gathers from Venture Brothers. There's that's what was going through my head whenever he's talking. Very
Oh, Jesus, we got stop here. You know,
look
I
outside
have
you, by God, that kind of thing.
that story presented some very interesting challenges to me because you introduced heretofore unseen graphical elements into the magazine, and I'm like, what's the quick, dirty way of doing this? Oh, I know. I'll
Oh,
just superimpose the friggin' box and the images over it and call it a day, and it'll be fine in post.
yeah, I had to like make a tweet, and I wanted to make a tweet, so I had to find like the little images of like comment
And
and
then I had to
retweet
recreate them
and
as
like.
vectors.
Right, yeah. And I just like made them small and copy pasted them into Scrivener. And you figured out how to do it really easily. When I was creating the EPUB, Scrivener, which is a marvelous program for making EPUBs because it just takes your whatever you compile and you can design it and it'll pretty much show you how to look at it. It just does it. But for some reason, when it made the EPUB, it made the icons of the tweet go like on top of each other instead of side by side. So, and there was no solution for this.
Huh.
I spent
Yeah,
like
the
2
solution would have been
hours.
had I embedded the original text into some sort of table, it might have structurally kept it all together. But that would have been a lot more work than I wanted to do, and I had taxes, so I was like, "This looks good, good enough." Huh.
What you did looks good enough and looks like a tweet. What's in the EPUB is like what I decided looks enough like a tweet. So if people are reading the EPUB instead of the PDF from either Gumroad or on Patreon, and you're mad at the way the tweet looks in the EPUB, I'm as mad as you are. And if I reached a point where I was so angry that I started laughing because my anger was completely impotent and there was nothing I could do. Like every way I tried to like make it work so that it would do it, it just ended up looking worse and less and
So
less.
what you're saying is like you were like a tiny squirrel shaking its tiny paws in impotent rage at the unfairness of the universe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was doing on Sunday. Sunday last. Yeah, and then there was Annalise's poem, King's Ransom, Rhino Factory, Long Summer. What's the fifth piece?
Drunk Vampire Hunter?
Oh God,
Yes,
yeah.
the Renfield one.
The Return of Drunk Vampire Hunter. Yes. This was something that I did submit because somebody was looking for stories about Renfield. I think because of the Renfield movie with Nick Cage. I think that's the reason they were looking for Renfield stuff. This was a horror mag, and they're going to come back to this with a story about Lucy Westenra. They want
Yeah.
stories about Lucy Westenra. Or Lucy. They want Lucy stories next. So I'll try and see if I can do a Drunk Vampire Hunter version for that. But they didn't like my Renfield story, so I might not bother. Or maybe they'll like this one with Lucy instead of Renfield. But yeah, the whole pastiche with Drunk Vampire Hunter is that Bram Stoker's Dracula is a documentary, and that's exactly the way vampires are. There's no deviation. They're exactly like that. So, Bram Stoker was either a vampire or a Renfield, and he had inside knowledge, and that's just how it works. And Renfield is still alive for some reason. Actual Renfield, I don't know why. Because Drunk Vampire.
Neither a vampire hunter who is as of yet still unnamed.
Yeah, and he's gonna stay that way. He's like Continental Op. He doesn't have a name. He's man with no name. Yeah, I'm gonna keep him that way. I don't know how I'm gonna do that for a whole novel without his name being released once, but I will cross that bridge when I come to it.
Well, being that it's done in the first person, that makes it workable. Like if it was done in any other point of view, you
Yeah,
might run
I
into
wouldn't
trouble.
worry.
But being that it's first person unreliable narrator, um, drunkenly unreliable.
Yes, drunkenly unreliable. That's the joke. Anna, in your werewolf story, if we can circle back to you in Revel, you have that story is about a young werewolf girl who's forming an attachment with someone who's not of her clan. Is that correct?
She falls for a wildlife conservation officer up in Allegheny National Forest,
Nice.
who actually spots her in the first chapter. It's like not a spoiler, and he starts searching for evidence of something in the forest. Because he
Okay.
realizes that there's something out there in the woods, and he doesn't know what it is. And yeah, so she falls for the one person, literally in the forest, that could have the power
To
to
cause
destroy her.
problems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cause problems.
that's the most doomed kind of love. That's wonderful.
Thanks. It's
Yeah.
it's not the kind of stuff that you I don't know, it's not it's kind of like Stephanie Myers, I'm not going to lie. It's like the teen girl romance kind of stuff, but I love it. It's like my guilty pleasure. It's like the
Yeah.
one
I
book I
mean,
love to read.
no.
Look, look, look. I have been known to read a Mercy Thompson book or two, okay?
Yeah. There's no art shaming on this podcast.
And Anita Blake on occasion as well. So, I
yeah,
mean,
Anita Blake, sure, yeah.
I don't know who that is.
oh God, another podcast, my friend, another podcast. This is this would be a deep dive, and I don't know if you're ready for it yet.
Well,
You you weren't quite like, man. Look, you had to get an explanation for depressing blowjob. This should take an awful lot longer than even that.
I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten about that. Oh man. Okay, so we'll put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that, and just
Probably a good idea.
We'll put a pin in like we were supposed to watch Flight of the Dragon, and then all sort of madness occurred in the month of March that prevented us from
Tax season.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're gonna call
tax
it
season.
tax season. Yeah, I've done a couple bonus episodes, and I did actually work on the leftover content from the Neil Gaiman episode when we were all just
Yes.
had way too much to drink to be fully functional, and it was 45 minutes of Neil Gaiman and 75 minutes of I think we're talking about Rasputin at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that was just
It went.
it went to weird places.
Yeah, these episodes are far ranging, but that might have been the furthest we'd ever gone. Like,
that was the greatest divergence. That was the greatest divergence. We were never more off topic than we were that night. Although we're pretty off topic right now, so that's something.
We'll edit in post.
I'll edit in post. It'll be fine. I won't leave this all in for no reason.
That's this podcast's catchphrase, by the way. We'll edit it in post. Goddammit.
Yeah, I'll cut that out later on. And really, all I do is just tighten up the audio and make sure everybody sounds good. Usually, I end up having to bump up Mike's vocals a little bit. Kieran and I are very loud. That's to be expected. What kind of headset are you using there, Anna? What is that? Is that like a gamer headset?
You know, I don't know. My husband gave me this because Kieran had texted was like, "Hey, you should have a headphones to prevent the." I don't know. I'm not a tech person.
The bleed in from the from basically if you were trying to listen to us on the speakers, it echoes in and messes that. That's why we all wear headphones now, because we learned early on in the podcast that what's all that noise from? And it's like, oh, right.
Yeah.
It's the microphone is picking up our speakers that are picking up us and creating some really weird artifacts.
Yeah.
It's also something I discovered in my Discord D&D game is when people don't have headsets on, that it creates a bunch of artifacts which get really confusing when you're trying to kick a dragon's ass. So
you don't need confusion when you're trying to kick a dragon's ass. You need focus.
You don't.
You need clarity. It's like,
you do.
Like hunting werewolves. Am I right, Anna?
Oh yeah.
You can't just mess around when you're hunting werewolves.
Actually, as I recall, isn't Rebel based off of earlier works that you had done?
Yeah, so in 2011, I actually self-published a book that I called Howl, and I should never. It was so bad. I should never
She
have.
won't let me read it.
It was
We've all
no,
been there.
it was so bad. So I pulled it from the shelf and sat on it for about 10 years, and then I was like, okay, this is my first. This is my baby. This is like my heart.
Yeah,
So I went back and I rewrote it now that I'm a little more mature and was able to
yeah,
like really kind of like, okay, now I can flesh out the characters more and the plot. And yeah, so it was a complete rewrite, new names, new characters.
really.
I mean, not 100%, but there are some characters got killed off in this book that didn't in the first one. Some
Oh, okay.
survived when they shouldn't have from the first one. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I took the framework and I just completely rewrote it. There's
okay. That's
very few.
interesting.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a challenge because it's kind of like the version that I wanted to write all those years ago, but I just
Yeah,
didn't have the
Uh,
experience yet.
yeah. Experience is really handy. I've got a piece thing I'm working on myself that's based on stuff that I started doing when I was a teenager. Kieran's actually already done a cover for it, but I've gone into a third round of editing. Death Riding is
It's a badass cover too. I'm
it's
very
a
proud of it.
awesome cover, and as soon as I finished with the book, and because I had it finished, and then I was like, this isn't enough. There's this thing here that I'm trying to do. It's not earned. I need to flesh this out. This needs to be a little. It needs like 2 or 3 more chapters. So I've gone back to it, but once that's done, that's really the only thing I'm going to change. And then other than that, like Kieran's got a great cover for me that I'm gonna throw out. It's a western, and it's based on stuff that I did when I was like in high school. I came up with this character because I always loved westerns, and I came up with a western character, and I created this whole ridiculous story that didn't work at all, but I liked the character, so kind of stuck him in a box, and I'm gonna work on him a little more, and maybe
Um,
other things as well from that whole.
Something I noticed about True Story is its cadence was very familiar to me from what I'd seen from your book of collected poetry and Girl X, I believe. That's not the whole title of it, but I recall I had seen some of the poetry from that book that you had published. And I'm like, okay, this is Anna's poetry style. This is familiar to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely have a style.
It's a
Yeah,
good style.
are you talking about my novel in verse, I Girl X?
Yes,
Okay, okay, yeah. I didn't know you
which I
read that.
recall was poet. Yeah, I'd seen excerpts from it. You had posted it a couple of times. I can't remember what platforms, but you had posted some of it. And I'm like, and then when I was reading through your poem for, because when I do the editing is when I end up reading the stuff because I got to make sure everything flows and all that. Um, I was like, oh, okay, yes, this is Anna's cadence. I'm very familiar with this. It's very much, her voice of writing that I'm familiar with. Um, I think one of the more interesting projects you did is the one that you did with your youngest, when you two both wrote a kids book together.
We wrote it's called Crunch Crackle Pop Slime Shop. And
oh,
my
cool.
youngest, who now goes by Theo, was 11 years old and was obsessed with slime, and
Cool.
we were just drowning in it. And Theo came to me and was like, "Hey, I really want to write a story about a girl who opens up a slime shop." And I was like, "Okay, let's start." So we started fleshing out characters, and we ended up writing it in verse. So, but we designed it for elementary school kids, and we wrote it in haiku and tanka and abecedarian poems and all the poems that kids learn about specifically in elementary, so
Uh
that
huh.
any kid who reads it would go, "Oh wait, we learned about that last year," kind of thing. So we wrote it together. It was wild writing with an 11-year-old who has
I'll bet.
very strong opinions about everything, but it was
Yes.
great because it was a whole new experience for us.
I
I
remember upon meeting your youngest, I was assailed with their encyclopedic knowledge of the different types of dragons, and I was sitting there frozen in place, like, oh my, I am in the La Brea tar pit now. There is no escaping this. It is an event horizon of dragon knowledge. So here I go.
I have an
Oh,
11-year-old, and she's working on making animations
nice.
using her tablet. And she, thanks to Cuphead, is obsessed with
Uh,
1930s Tex Avery style animation, and also with swing music. Like, she's discovered electro swing on YouTube, and it is her thing. It is her jam. She wants that. And I played her some like Glenn Miller, and she was like, "This is amazing." I was like, "It is, isn't it?" Come back for Benny Goodman. She's like, "I will." And then we can talk about the Brian Setzer Orchestra, and you can decide good or bad. We'll make a whole mixtape.
Yeah, that's a good
Maybe that'll
conversation.
segue them into the Stray Cats.
God
One
willing.
of my guilty pleasures from the '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Neo rockabilly is nothing to be ashamed of.
Nah.
I will defend it. I will defend it.
I mean, I don't really feel shame, so I can't say I'm ashamed of it per se. I just don't like to admit to it. Big difference.
It sounds like shame.
No, shame is when you actually feel bad about it.
Okay.
Do you ever really experience shame, Kieran?
No, not as far as I can tell.
I've known you a long time, and I don't think I've seen that side.
I mean, I'll stop and think, that was kind of fucked up. Oh well.
Guilt, perhaps,
I mean,
not shame.
guilt I feel on occasion.
Okay. That makes sense.
Usually after I've been blackout drunk, like, oh, I done did some things. I know it. I done did some things.
This isn't my shirt. What's going on?
Oh,
What is this? Yeah.
I think my most infamous moment is when I woke up in a puddle of Jack Daniels puke. I'm like, this is my Jack Daniels and my puke. Oh, Lord, I don't know what happened last night, but I know it was all bad. This is not where I last remember being. And how did I get moved into this apartment so quickly? I literally woke up in my new apartment. You remember the story, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike was
You
there,
remember the
probably.
story.
Yeah.
Mike
You
was
were
there.
not. No, he was not there.
I was not
thankfully.
there, but I've heard this story.
Someone was very mad at me about the condition of their car after that, and I'm like, look, I apologize for everything, but I remember nothing.
I can neither confirm nor deny that I was there doing that thing. So Anna, I'm looking at your Amazon author profile, and I'm seeing the novel and verse I Girl X and about seven other titles, some of which are currently unavailable. I don't see Rebel. Do you have that on a different platform?
So that's actually under a different name. That's under Alden Elway.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, I started to
remember
separate my paranormal.
You should know
and
something
my
about various nom de plumes there, Andrew?
Yeah, I have a few.
Like, you
I have
invent
a
a
few.
new one per issue. I swear to God. I'm like, okay, this has got to be Andrew because it's a brand new name from someone I don't recognize. And I know it's not Mike because I know his writing style real damn well and he's consistent.
Mhm.
So,
I've been rewatching Deadwood. Can you tell?
Who are we this season, Andrew? Who are we this season?
Well, Drunk Vampire Hunter is me, and King's Ransom is me, but Rhino Factory was written by Al Swingen.
I know.
Mm-hmm. Al Swingen.
It's fun writing under different personas.
I love it. I have a pseudonym I've been using for a number of years. It's actually the pseudonym that I used as publisher of the of Unnamed Journal. It's Thomas Fitz. I have one or two stories published
Mike,
on Amazon.
if we ever get that story we're working on together done, we should credit it to Alex Atome and Kyle Renzaburo.
Oh yeah, we should do that. That would be yeah.
We're working on a fantasy western that I world built a long time ago, and we've been knocking it back and forth. Amazing. We'll probably start working on it when he gets back from Japan.
Yeah.
When are you going to Japan, Mike?
The end of May until about the middle of June.
Yeah, my wife's been helping him with the Japanese because she's been studying it real strong. So
Cool
Mm-hmm.
beans.
Yep,
Cool
yep.
beans.
So it'll only be about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, that's exciting.
Yeah, it should be fun.
All right.
I
Should
think
we?
I think we have
Should we
enough.
stick a pin in this, boys? Have we
I think we've covered everything.
covered everything we need covered?
Uh,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah, we good. All right, Anna, is there any other project you'd like to spread the word about out before we close up shop?
No, I'm honestly right now my biggest time consumer is I'm actually writing for the Emmitsburg News Journal.
Oh yes,
Um,
okay.
yeah, so because I write a monthly article for that, I'm just like actual creative writing has gone like taking a
Yeah,
nosedive because I need to
that can
start
happen.
finding. Yeah, I need to start finding more time to actually like write for fun instead of writing for work.
Yeah, you have to like force yourself to be creative, which always feels wrong, but you
Yeah,
end up having to do that. Like you just have to. I'm not going to play Crusader Kings today. I'm going to work on this story. That's what I'm going to do.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you will enjoy it, and it will be magical.
I love beatings until morale improves. It just makes me so happy.
I don't feel bad. I end up sporadic. I got like 15 different projects I'm trying to all make at once, and God knows if any of them will freaking get done. Like, I don't know when my Mandalorian armor is going to get done. At least I got the color scheme figured out for it. But
if you got the color scheme, that's everything. All right, cool beans.
I did have a question for you guys. Are you looking for more, or do you have more opportunities for outsiders to submit? Because I have a lot of author friends that are always looking for places to submit to. So
Yeah, that was the whole idea when Mike wanted to open us
Yes.
up for submissions, was that we would find other people to throw in our stuff. So like
Yep.
tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell people you run into at the newsstand that if you want to submit to Unnamed Journal, all you have to do is email your work to theunnamedjournal@gmail.com, and either Mike or I will check it out. And if we like it, we will pay $25 for first North American serial rights, and you will retain. Otherwise, you'll retain full rights to your work and can do whatever you want with it. We're just paying for the right to publish it in UJ. So yeah,
Yep.
how,
it's
how
that
would
simple.
you guys how would you like submissions to go? Because in my experience, most places are like, we want your name, your contact info, we want an author bio, we want an author photo. Like, I guess, what exactly would you like to see in a submission email?
That is a wonderful question. My attitude, and Mike can contradict me if he wants to, but my attitude is the work should be there, and because we don't really like put author bios in UJ, like
because
we
I
never
would
have
edit them.
No.
before. Although that's the reason. But we probably should in the future. We should probably like we should do a page of like author bios. Like I've seen Planet Scum do that, where they like have that instead of in the story. There's like a separate page of like who's in this issue. I've seen a lot of journals do that. So what I'm going to say is submit your work, and if we like it and want to publish it, then we will ask you for the relevant author bio info. If you don't want to submit that with the work, then I don't think we need that straight away. We can send an email after that.
Do you prefer so again, like some journals are like, we want
No, because
Times New Roman 12-point double space. Like they get like really strict. So do you guys want an attachment in the body of the email?
An attachment's good,
I mean,
but like as
there's
for
some places
formatting,
that are like,
I'm going to change it any goddamn way, whether they like it or not. So
of
We'll
course
take
you
Google
are.
Docs. Google Docs is great.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't and
because
Google
there's
Docs
this
is Arial
beautiful
standard, so that's
feature
fine.
in
As long as it's
Affinity Publisher called Paste Without Format. And it strips all the format out, and then it follows my rules, by God.
Scrivener does the same thing. That's why I love it.
So use whatever funky
Yeah, so we don't care what
font you want to use, because it won't be that font. You can use Comic Sans. I'll judge you a lot, unendingly.
Yeah.
Do not judge me for using No, Comic Sans is phenomenal.
Oh,
I
fine.
will
Do it in
die on that
papyrus
hill.
then. Papyrus is fine if you're doing a yoga studio or a
Garen
martial
wants
arts
his
dojo
favorite.
or an actual Egyptian restaurant.
No, it's I think for a submission email, the document should be attached, but I don't have any particular style choices, and I think Mike agrees with me on that.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'd prefer it as an attachment. If you have a pen name that you would rather use, that you would prefer to have credited for the the body of work, that's fine. But I guess for the purposes of like payment or whatever, we should probably get your legal name.
Yeah, and
and
purposes of payment. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and it's just and whatever basically, if we accept it, we'll ask you like, hey, what is how
How
can
you
we?
want us
And
to
I
pay
think
it?
for
Yeah.
the next
PayPal,
coming issue, we'd
Venmo,
probably want it
make
by
that
Yeah, at that
June
point.
15th. In your case, because you did basically a 2-page poem, that was really easy to look through and go like, okay, yeah, now we can totally put this in. But like, let's say a longer piece, we'd actually need time on that one because
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
So
gonna be
yeah,
a-
we do try to have the deadline for submission to be about a month before publication because it just gives us enough time to read through
Read,
everything and then make
etc.
a determination. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess last question, what specifically are you looking for? Are you looking for more fantasy based? Are you looking for more realistic fiction? I took a chance by being like, hey, here's this poem that I love. So I guess, are you looking for more poetry? Are you looking
We've
for pretty
had
much whatever
poetry.
strikes?
We've always done this as like UJ began as something that Mike and I were just doing to like satirize as well as create a literary magazine and the auspices thereof. Like the first 6 issues had letters to the editor that we just made up ourselves.
Yeah.
That were ridiculous. So I think there was an element of satire early on, and then there's been a lot of we've been writing a lot of pulp stuff, Mike and I. So we love that kind of thing, but we don't really have like a strict like this is the kind of thing we want, and we do not want this. Like I don't think. I was going to say
We've also just had pieces that were straight fiction. That it's literally not even genrefied. It was just literary fiction.
slice of life pieces,
Sure.
And we've had rants and screeds as well. Like I've done a few of those.
Essays.
I had a whole rant about how much I don't like tomatoes in there once. Like I don't think we have rules. So I think it's going to be a case by case. Like show it to us. If we think it fits our vibe, we'll put it in. If we don't think it really fits our vibe, then we won't. So it's UJ exists for creatives to be creative. So like.
Yeah, we don't really got like a genre or anything like that. We just kind of, is it good? Does it entertain us? Did we enjoy reading it? All right, cool.
Yeah, did this stick out and make me pay attention to it? Your poem, Anna, struck out and said, "This I felt this works for me." So, even though it doesn't fit anything else that's in the issue, we wanted it, and so now it's in there.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. This was a blast, and truly, like I was so freaking excited. I bought 3 copies. I bought one for my collection, one for my sister, and one for my mom because they were so excited too. So.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Sales have been up. We sold a. We've been seriously. Like, we've been selling like the Witch in the Woods issue 32.
Oh.
There have been a couple of hits on that on Amazon lately. Like a couple of EPUBs, not print, EPUBs.
Okay.
Checking. And we got another patron on the Patreon.
I think that's my coworker Joshua.
Yes, I think it is. So thank you, Joshua. You're awesome. So thank you everyone else as well for joining us on this episode of Shallow and Pedantic. Special thanks to our special guest, Annalise Grey, and her awesome poem, True Story. I am Andrew.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Kieran.
Thank you so much for stopping by.